Hey guys, my name is Matt and I've been a worship leader now for about 14 years. I know I look like I'm 12, but I promise I'm a grown-up. I've worked at smaller churches as well as bigger churches over the years, and if you're interested in seeing if I can even play music, feel free to watch any or all of my videos on my YouTube channel. Now, over the last decade, I've learned a few tips that have helped me as it relates to leading a worship team in a growing church. So I wanted to make this video to help anyone out there who might be struggling as a worship leader, or maybe someone who's looking to get to the next level. Or, and this is the case more times than not, you think you're doing a great job leading worship and are simply unaware that there are things that you can do to improve. I truly feel that no matter what size church or what type church you lead worship at, these things apply across the board. So I had this wonderful idea to create a series of videos to help anyone else following God's call in their life in the area of music ministry. I'm gonna try to keep these videos under 10 minutes because let's just be honest, ain't nobody got time for a 20-minute video. Let me start by saying there's two aspects of any ministry. There's a spiritual aspect and there's a practical aspect. I feel people put so much focus on the spirituality of ministry that they can leave out the practicality. We're gonna go into this video series with the assumption that we're already doing this for the right reason. We do this for Jesus. You should already be practicing spiritual disciplines like reading your Bible, praying, and encouraging your team to do the same. So these videos aren't gonna spend a lot of time going over those things. Instead, I'm gonna focus more on the practicality of leading worship and how to build a team. Before I go over these principles or tips to help improve your ministry, I want to address a couple of misconceptions about worship leaders. People tend to think that because you're a musician, then you probably should be able to play every genre of music. You may be able to play rock, but you might not be very good at jazz, or maybe you're better at traditional, but you're not very good at gospel. Whatever the case may be, it's okay. God gave you a gift, and you need to be aware of what your gift is. There's going to be people all throughout your ministry that try to tell you what you should be playing. You should be doing more hymns, or you should be doing more modern worship. And there's going to be times that you need to listen to this advice. We should all be stretching ourselves, but I want you to know it's okay to be you. Do what God called you to do. Also, people think that you should be spending a lot of time working on your weaknesses. Those people have never been in leadership. When I focus on my weak areas, I make them slightly less weak. But when I focus on my strengths, the sky's the limit. So know your weaknesses and know your strengths. Maybe surround yourself with people who are strong in areas where you're weak. A team approach is always a wise one. So I'm going to try to go over a couple of leadership principles in each video. I'm going to go over all the principles, but spend extra time on just a couple of those during this video. I'll follow up in the coming weeks with more videos with some of the other points. So here's a brief overview of what can take you to the next level. I've narrowed it down to the 6 most important leadership principles that I believe can help you. Number 1, don't do 50 things mediocre. Do a few things excellent. Everyone wants to play on a winning team. Hard work will always pay off. Number 2, you can't expect what you don't resource. If you don't plan ahead, you're not respecting the time of your volunteers. It's like the old saying, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Number 3, learn the Nashville number system. Have a universal language. Don't get comfortable. Stretch yourself with music theory so you can understand your role even better. Number 4, utilize technology. Clicks, loops, Facebook, YouTube, Planning Center, the list goes on. Number 5, when the horse dies, dismount. Learn to be aware of where your congregation is. This also applies to being self-aware. Number 6, replace yourself. Build a team that lasts. Have a vision and don't deviate from it. Okay, with that being said, I want to spend just a few minutes today going over the first 2 leadership principles. Number 1, don't do 50 things mediocre. Do a few things excellent. Look, I don't want to be a Golden Corral. Golden Corral has 100 different things that you can eat, and they're all okay. I want to be a Ruth's Chris. Ruth's Chris only serves a few things, and it's excellent. Spend time with God and figure out His calling on your life as it pertains to your music ministry. Don't try to do 4 different genres of music over 4 different songs. That's called being schizophrenic. Focus your attention on what God has called you to be and spend adequate time getting better at that. Be excellent at whatever you do. If you do traditional music, do it excellent. If you do modern music, do it excellent. When you do what you do with the utmost excellence, it brings down barriers that people put up. That doesn't mean everyone's going to love what you do, but I'm saying it goes a long way. Here's the deal. Everyone wants to play on a winning team. When you do a good job 50% of the time, there's a few wins mixed with a few losses. Your wins need to outweigh your losses. Bad days happen, but they need to be the exception to the rule and not a normal occurrence. Good music attracts good musicians. I know this seems like the opposite of what you need. You think that you need good musicians to have good music, but it really works the other way around. Learn to do what you do with limited people or resources to the best of your ability. Then give it time and keep cranking out the wins, and then you'll find that people want to be a part of that. The truth of the matter is when we do what we do with absolute excellence, it allows God's Spirit to move much more freely. When people disagree with me I say, all right, let's have someone tone deaf lead worship Sunday. Let me know if the Spirit moves better or worse during the service. Now, it is true that God doesn't need us or our gifts for His Spirit to move. But when we are a good steward of the talent that He's given us, we allow His Spirit to move more freely in people's lives. The concept is simple. You can accomplish more by doing less. Narrow your focus as it pertains to music and you'll accomplish a lot more. So don't do 50 things mediocre. Do a few things excellent. Number 2, you can't expect what you don't resource. Now, this is one of my favorites on the list, and I feel like this is going to strike a chord with a lot of worship leaders out there. Now look, if I send out my set list for the upcoming Sunday on Thursday, just 3 days prior, and my musicians and singers come unprepared on Sunday and they do a bad job, it's my fault because I didn't resource them in advance. But if I send out my set list weeks in advance and my singers or musicians come unprepared, it's their fault because I resourced them way out. The other thing to remember is that you're a paid staff member. And if you're not a paid staff member, you've still accepted the responsibility of being the leader. But your singers and musicians are strictly volunteers. When you fail to resource them or plan ahead, you're not respecting their time. Many on my team work multiple jobs and have children. Some have a lot of children. When I give plenty of notice, it sends a message that I appreciate them and I respect their time. Also, I try to send out as many resources as I can to make sure that they knock it out of the park. If we're committed to excellence, then we want to make sure we send out as many resources as we can for them to do their part excellent. We'll touch more on this in a later video, but technology allows us to do this. If you're a church that purchases multi-tracks, then you have the resources to send your acoustic guitarist an MP3 of what he's supposed to play, or your piano player, or your bass player, or sometimes I'll record myself singing the harmony parts that I want my singers to sing and I'll send it to them. I give them all the resources that they need to hit a home run. And as they hit a home run each week, it's going to make them want to continue to be a part of the team because it feels good to win. So be a planner. Develop a method or a plan that helps you work smarter. Now, it can seem like a daunting task at first to get organized, but as you do it, it does become easier. Here's my method, and it can be totally different for any of you out there. Make it your own and work it with your personality. We do 2 new songs a month. I feel like that's not too much for my musicians and singers to learn, and it's not too much for our congregation to learn as well. And here's the great thing. Once you resource all of your library of songs, you're only having to get resources ready for 2 a month. So it's much more manageable. It's a lot of work on the front end, but then you're only having to do it for 2 songs a month. Also, when you resource, you can expect more. So for me, I feel like there's a difference between knowing a song and knowing how to read a chart for a song. As my musicians progress, I encourage them to memorize their songs. It teaches them to know the song, not just know how to read the chart for it. When you internalize a song, you can truly minister it much more effectively. You have to be aware of the talent level of your musicians as well. For some, you can expect more than others, but it's different for each person. But memorizing songs eliminates music stands from the stage, which aren't aesthetically pleasing in my personal opinion. It gives the message to your congregation, we know what we're doing and we've prepared, and that's a good message to give. Another part of preparation is to practice with your team during the week. You'll always be happy that you made time for it. Practice makes perfect, and hard work always pays off. And lastly, finish your Sunday morning practices before your congregation shows up. There's nothing more irritating to me than a worship team practicing 10 minutes before service. It gives the message that we don't know what we're doing to everyone who walks in. You want church to be a wonderful spiritual experience for people who walk through your doors. The truth is that there are people that are giving Jesus one more chance, and your lack of preparation could create a barrier from someone truly trusting Jesus. So you can't expect what you don't resource. Now, I'm going to spend more time making more of these videos in the upcoming weeks on my other tips for you to take your church worship team to the next level. Remember to pray over your church, your leadership, and your team. Work hard, and God will always honor hard work. Now look, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer, feel free to leave it in the comments. And until next time, keep rocking and winning people to Jesus through being a good steward of your talents and gifts. I'm rooting for you.